TheViper, and he's out of...
In the middle, Leary's castle goes down.
It's his turn to raid Leary's economy.
And Viper holds on to that castle. And he's killing the villagers on the gold. They're desperately running for the TC.
Look, the Cavalier, they can do what they're doing here to the trebuchets, and then Leary will have nothing.
Welcome, exalted viewers around the world, to Heidelberg Castle here in the heart of Germany for Red Bull Wololo Legacy. What a pleasure it is to have you joining us for an incredible celebration of the Age of Empires franchise, spanning games across decades. Age of Empires 1, 2 and 4 showcased in this celebration of the franchise that we all love. My name's Riley Knight. I'll be your host across the coming weekends as we give away more than $500,000 to the best players in the world across, as I've said, 3 different Age of Empires titles. Age of Empires 2, the first game on the docket, of course, as we open the tournament this week here. And this is where the action will be taking place. From around the world, champions, old and new, from Red Bull Wololo series beforehand, and fresh faces will be battling out for dominance and supremacy in our war room. And we just cannot wait to bring you all the action. But there is so much else in this literal castle, my friends, for us to show you. I mean, it is not possible to think of a more appropriate backdrop for a medieval-themed RTS like this. And we're so happy to be back in the castle once again for a second live event. Here in our casting chamber, you can see our all-star cast of casters are standing, ready to go. The enthusiasm, the excitement in here is palpable, my friends. We can't wait to sit down at our analyst desk, talk you through the matches. But of course, over here, you can see we've built a little stage with a fan favorite pair, Dave and T90, ready to walk you through the games which are coming your way very, very shortly indeed. As I've mentioned, Age of Empires has been showcased here as part of Red Bull's Wololo series for a very long time now, and whether you're a new fan, whether you're an old fan, I'm sure you won't have any issues with being reminded of some of the huge moments we've had as part of the Wololo series, dating all the way back to our online events, of course, but it was last year that we assembled here in this very castle for Red Bull Wololo 5 Enthroned, and it was there that we saw some spectacular Age of Empires 2. We want to remind you of some of those moments right now, so let's have a look at what took place here in Heidelberg Castle just 1 year ago.
It all started aeons and aeons ago. Humanity made its entry into competition. The competition for survival in an unforgiving world. Harnessing stone and fire, humanity was thrust on the road towards its destiny. For countless thousands of years, humanity fought first for survival, then to thrive, and finally to dominate. Great leaders arose, uniting people to forge mighty civilizations destined to secure their own legacy. Today, we compete for a legacy of our very own. Welcome to Red Bull Wololo Legacy. Let's go back in history and have a look at the events of Red Bull Wololo 5 Enthroned. Red Bull Wololo has taken the world of Age of Empires by storm from its very inception, raising the game to new heights, celebrating the scene and its heroes. In bringing Wololo 5 Enthroned to a real castle, we celebrated and showcased Age of Empires like never before. It was the first ever live Wololo event where the world's best Age of Empires 2 players were brought together in person, fighting for their share of the $100,000 prize pool. The location, as unique as it could be for a medieval real-time strategy title, in the heart of Germany, in Heidelberg, viewers could witness the players battling it out face to face in a castle. Besides intense games, the overall mood and feeling around Heidelberg Castle during the event was incredible. Many great moments and memes emerged and will be remembered for a long time to come.
There is a bat flying around here, and I hope that it doesn't make its way over here.
From my experience, Red Bull Wololo 5 was like the tournament of my career so far. Playing in the castle, the theme fits perfectly, spectacular.
I remember you used to show up there in the mornings and the castle was just completely shrouded in this fog, and it seemed like it was right out of a dream, and it was just an absolutely unbelievable experience.
Red Bull Wololo 5 will be so memorable simply because it really got the flair from the castle onto the screen to the viewers at home. I think that's something really special that Red Bull achieved there.
My favorite in-game moment, well, not so much favorite, but something I will not forget, is losing like 10 villagers to 1 HP Eagle Warrior from Kapoch.
That's an incredible comeback and an incredible performance from Kapoch. And big hug there from Doubt. He's smiling, he's laughing, he knows that's a big moment for Kapoch.
When I had to face Doubt and we were in game 3, and there was a moment where I realized, okay, I'm pulling ahead right now and there's no chance I'm going to throw away this game anymore. Yeah, just beating him was just a great milestone for me.
So it was the first proper LAN event for Age of Empires for a long time. I'm always looking forward to meeting teammates, opponents, rivals. Obviously the prize pool was super high, competition was super high. This was what everyone wanted to qualify for.
Coming from an extraordinary group stage, the playoffs were a show-stopping clash of titans. We saw the reigning champion Leary.
Leary playing those Magyars to full aggression.
And a rock-solid TheViper.
I think I can still perform to the point where I can win an event, and what better time than now.
And Jordan's terrific record so far clearly showed that he was a determined and serious opponent.
Kapoch sees he's surrounded.
Oh my God, Jordan, what a series and what a victory there.
However, one of the biggest moments coming into the playoffs was the unbelievable match between Hera and MBL.
This game is absolute insanity, I agree with you. MBL coming back from 2 and he takes it!
Oh my God!
Look, you're shaking. It's so exciting to see this.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's so much adrenaline going on, and it's probably my greatest victory of all time.
Oh my goodness, what have we just seen? Absolutely incredible scenes.
Those big trap shots there with Wololo doing the splash damage. Most of the skirms are dying, Abadas and Habadias defending.
Absolute master of chaos, and the energy that he brought to that game, the energy, passion that he put into it, I think it's a well-deserved win, and I'm so excited to see what he can bring to the semi-final.
In the semi-finals, we saw Leary go up against MBL, while Jordan faced off against TheViper.
He's getting closer and closer for the Snake to be in the grand final, Leary. 3-0, taking the castle, he's in the grand final.
After 2 amazing semi-finals, TheViper and Leary met again in the championship match. Throughout the group stage, TheViper only lost once, in a best-of-3 against Leary. Could this possibly be a sneak preview of the grand final itself? Leary, an undisputed master of Empire Wars, was the favourite heading into the tournament, and TheViper had never won a Red Bull Wololo championship before. To prepare, TheViper's team, Gamer Legion, had held a boot camp prior to the event to ensure the team was in the best position to succeed in Heidelberg. However, TheViper had struggled with injuries in the lead-up to the tournament. Would these factors prove to be decisive in the final showdown between these 2 titans of the game?
My most personal, memorable situation was probably the grand final against Leary.
just goosebumps everywhere. You're so excited, you're focused 100%. Two men going up against each other, the better one wins. It's just the feeling I live for, you know?
We're going to a game number 7 here at Red Bull Wololo 5.
Obviously being 3-3 entering the final game, stakes are high. Everything hinges on this one final game.
Viper at the end was able to make the comeback and win the game.
And I think he's done it. Viper's done it. Viper's done it. The king of Age of Empires is back on his throne. Red Bull Wololo 5 champion. Oh.
And then everyone storming onto the stage to congratulate him.
The Viper taking home his first Red Bull championship. But the story of Red Bull Wololo continues as players are once again given the chance to secure their Age of Empires legacy. We return to Heidelberg Castle for Red Bull Wololo Legacy.
Well, welcome back to live here at Heidelberg Castle. Riley and I joined by Mem and Nilly. And boys, what an incredible tour of some of the wonderful memories that we built together a year ago. And we are back here to do it again, build more memories, build more excitement, more hype. Speaking of building hype, Mem, you have been bigging up this event for a long time on your stream. I know you cannot wait to get into it. It's incredible to be back, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. What can I tell you? I was talking with Nelly before with other people, and I was telling him, I'm fine, I've been here before. I'm watching the last video. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait, you know.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so excited, really.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Everything is amazing. I mean, people can see, you guys can see, and there is a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, so much more to come, Nelly. I mean, we've got not just Age of Empires 2, but Age of Empires 1, Age of Empires 4. We'll talk about that in greater detail later through the week, but I know for you, someone who's been a big part of Wololo throughout this, the entire series, we are bigger and better than ever this time around, hey?
And it's actually surprising to me because last year was like, it felt like perfect. And they just stepped it up even more and making it, as you said, even bigger. Production is crazy. People are even more hyped because they knew how great last year was. And this year, I think should be the same.
Yeah, Red Bull have done it again. I mean, I didn't know what they were going to do. I was like, are they going to host it on the moon this time to raise the stakes? But we are back here. We've got a couple of surprises up our sleeves to walk you through as well, my friends. But before that, let's get through some of the housekeeping stuff and have a chat about what you're going to see on your screens across the coming days, particularly as we focus now into the Age of Empires 2 tournament. I know there'll be rabid fans, thousands of them around the world, ready to celebrate this game that has been around for, I mean, it feels like about as long as some of the civs that they're playing with, to be honest. This is an old game with a long history, and we're going to have a chat about the sort of stuff that we're going to see, starting, of course, with the prize money. $200,000 on the line for the Age of Empires 2 portion. 60K going to the winner, 30K to the second place player, the runner-up there. 200,000 reasons to smile. This is an absurd amount of money, and we cannot wait to see who is going to rise to the top to claim it. But who are those players? Mem, let's have a chat about some of the players that we're going to see here. I know you've been keeping an eye on Group A. There are some massive names throughout both groups, but particularly in Group A, talk to us about some of the players here that you're looking forward to seeing.
Well, we're going to see the reigning champion. We're going to open the tournament with the Viper. Having this name is already a hype. We want to see, obviously he's going to play against KingstoNe. He just joined it. First experience is like a gift for him. So I think it's going to be amazing the first season. Then after that, we have Doubt as well versus Dogal. I mean, the two players that just joined the tournament are going to be playing the first series. I don't know, it's can be an a best of 3. It's very important to see what can happen because you lose the first game, it might end the Viper, or now, you know, they are the favorite, supposed to be the favorite, and then they lose the first game. Oh. Yeah, there's not just the Age of Empires game, there's also the psychological game. That's going to come into it. So that's our Group A. Group B, Nilly, I know you've been keeping an eye on some of the players there. I mean, again, some very big names. What stands out to you in our second group?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Group A looked extremely strong, and now looking at Group B, you probably have like 3 players that are considered top 4 players. Like Leary, arguably the best. Hera, arguably top 3 player. Mr. Yo, Red Bull champion as well. So it feels like 5 people are fighting for only 1 ticket because the 3 at the top are just so dominant.
Yeah, exactly right. And for those of you who are perhaps newer to Age of Empires, maybe joining us for the first time, welcome. By all means, welcome. They're very quickly going to realize that some of the legendary figures in this game, just how dominant they are. But Anything can happen. We've seen upsets in this very castle before. We might see it happen again. But let's have a look at our schedule for today at least. And I want to remind you there are actually going to be 2 streams covering the matches today. To kick things off, we're going to start with our Group A matches. So that's going to start with KingstoNe versus TheViper. Those boys are already setting up and getting ready to go. And then we'll move on to DeGao versus Doubt, of course, before checking in with Kapoch and Velese. And our 4th Group A match, of course, here is MBL and Jordan. Now, those are the Group A players, as we've talked about. If your favourite player is playing in Group B, don't worry, because you can head over to the backup stream, the B stream, and you'll be in the capable hands of LE4K and Survivalist there. They'll be looking after you as you go through the B. The Group B there on the B stream. You can see the address there, twitch.tv/nilly_AOE. And I should mention as well, you may have seen in the schedule there that we have some TBC games later on. Those are the Group B winners matches. And I'll quickly walk you through how this is going to work. We don't need to get too granular with it. You can, as Nilly always says, check Wikipedia. But if you're interested to know how it's going to work, essentially the bottom line is 2 wins in the group stage, you're through to the quarterfinals, 2 losses, and you're out. And that's it. There are going to be 4 players from each group that make it through to the quarters, and there are going to be 4 players from each group who, unfortunately, go home. But we are going to send people to the quarterfinals today. These winners matches are taking place today in both groups, and we're going to send people to the quarters, to that top 8 spot that they're all fighting so hard for today. So a lot on the line, even on day 1 here at Red Bull Wololo Legacy, and we can't wait to bring it to you. But Nilly, before we jump into the games themselves, let's talk about the format that we're actually playing here, because we're not playing the regular random map start, what people might be accustomed to with Age of Empires. Slightly different take here at Red Bull.
Yeah, that's so true. Typically, if you think about Age of Empires, it is like we're starting with 3 villagers, 1 scout, and trying to explore, trying to build our base. But Red Bull is speeding it up so much. We're starting with 27 villagers. The scout, we already have some buildings. We already advanced to the feudal age. So basically skipping the first 11 minutes where people normally like try to see how they're going to approach. But no, Red Bull format is action-packed, and we could see like massive swings going in one direction, basically starting minute 1.
Straight into the action, and men, we call this format Empire Wars. It is a slightly different approach, again, a very aggressive, fast-paced format, and we've seen explosive moments as a result of this format in these Red Bull series.
Yeah, that is a problem for me. I have no time to rest, guys. My boy is gonna be dead in 2 minutes, you know. And it's something that makes that you cannot miss anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we have best of 3. Today we have already 4 players in the quarterfinals, and if you miss 2 minutes, maybe it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen matches that have lasted
3 minutes?
Yeah, 3 minutes before. So really, you are not going to want to miss a moment. And I know you are champing at the bit, waiting to get underway with these matches. Our players are too. They've assembled here at Heidelberg Castle for fame and fortune to prove who amongst them is the best. Let's check in with them now. Here they are as they made their way to this incredible location.
Welcome everyone again to Red Bull Wololo Legacy. We are so excited to be here. I'm Dave, and of course I'm with the famous and taller than me, T90 official here in the broadcast booth for the first couple sets of the day. And we're kicking this one off with the most underdog of underdogs against the greatest Age of Empires 2 player of all time, KingstoNe against TheViper. Now, short story before we go in the draft room, really quick here. KingstoNe told us yesterday he's never, ever in his entire life played a game against TheViper.
Ever. Not ranked?
Tournament, ranked, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely
that
incredible.
Doesn't happen.
No.
That's not a thing usually.
So rare, and we're going to head now to the draft and our drafting room. Tristan, talk us through it.
Well, it looks pretty freaking cool, man. Some people were able to put out some images on social media and whatnot. They said, no, not the draft room. We got to wait for the mainstream for the draft room. And we have our Viper on the right, who's got a snake-themed staff from winning the previous Red Bull Wololo. And you can see all the maps there on the left side of the world map. And we're going to go over here to the left, and you'll see the ban for KingstoNe.
And starting off with Northern Isles there. So the bans will be down in red.
obviously, and then the picks will be up in blue for the civilizations. Now, I believe it's the final map that is left unbanned at the end that will be game number 1, I believe.
Yeah, correct. So the way the maps work, we're going to see a lot of maps come up on your screens there. It is the map that is left over, so we'll go through it here. And it's interesting, you know, you see KingstoNe ban a hybrid map. We had heard some talkings about like maybe Gamer Legion players with Tato and whatnot in training would really focus on a water map when there's not many of them. And so he banned that, and he picks
Morass,
yeah.
Which is a fantastic map for a player with KingstoNe style.
True.
Like you've been saying it for the last few months, as his rise has been kind of amazing. He's gone from what we would consider a mid-pro tier to the upper echelon so quickly in like the last 6 months. And he's got such clean builds. He executes really well early, and he kind of spirals on that aggression and just snowballs it to victory.
Correct.
So as long as Viper can kind of stabilize against that, he should be fine. But like Mem said, it's best of 3. You can't take your eyes off the screen, and if one of these favorites loses the first match, could be terrifying. So Viper has picked Arabia, and he's also banned Shoals.
Yep. Interesting one. I mean, maybe a map that will need to be figured out a little bit as we go through the group stage as well. And so again, folks, now we see the bans until there is one map remaining. So it's very different from, you know, one player getting an advantage and getting a final pick per se. So ideally, this is going to be like as even ground as it gets for our first game.
And if you're wondering if the civs are all placed in their historical location, I can assure you that Riley Knight, our resident historian, spent 20 minutes yesterday
more than that.
arranging them as best he could. Now, it's hard to fit all the European ones into the continent, but he certainly did an excellent job from my limited knowledge. And Tristan even gave him the thumbs up, so we really know that they're all in the correct
Of course.
place.
I mean, yeah. I'm truly the final judge when it comes to anything geographical. But Outcrop is going to be our remaining map, which means our game 1, ladies and gentlemen. And if you look at, you know, if you know a bit about Morass and then Arabia, it's kind of in between because Outcrop isn't quite as open as some of the other ones, and it allows some few age aggression, but it might be the map that we like the most if you're a fan of post-in play. I saw some of the training games go quite late.
Mobility, Cav Archers, you know, Berbers, civs like Tatars, and we see Aztecs now being banned from Viper first. And KingstoNe's got to be a little bit nervous. What if he like bans a civ that Viper really wanted? If Viper's got that giant staff, and they're not too far away.
Oh
like,
man, he could be creative with that thing.
Yeah.
So I believe this is interesting actually, because our poor villager doesn't know all the icons.
It's probably in a different language too.
And it's not alphabetical. So credit to him. It took him a second there to get Gurjaras out of there.
Yeah.
Viper with a little smirk on his face, like, why did you ban Gurjaras?
Maybe KingstoNe's got some ideas, man. And we saw him practicing yesterday. He's a very nice guy. Pleasure to meet him. And we're so glad that he could come to this tournament. Obviously, we're sad for the competitors that unfortunately couldn't make it here, but KingstoNe being here is a great opportunity for him. And matching up against the Snake, very first match is crazy.
Yeah. Everyone told him, you've got nothing to lose, and Viper's going to add Dravidians to the list there. So the Dravidians, a civilization we will probably have a lot of discussions on over this week, but not for the first series.
Was that a sigh? What facial expression was that from KingstoNe?
It's composure.
It's so tough. Yeah.
It's composure.
I'm surprised he's not shaking right now. He's in a draft room in front of thousands of people at a LAN event.
Look at it. Look at it.
And he picks Bulgarians. That is a confidence pick right there, I think.
That is I need to kill Viper before 10 minutes pick. Viper is also, if he has any weakness, someone who can start to he starts off slow, and there's been instances where like he wins the final eventually, but in the round of 32, he almost lost the best of 5, things like that. So like game 1, first series is actually the best time for KingstoNe, and maybe Bulgarians with a fast man-at-arm play or just lots of blacksmith upgrades could really stack up.
Now we see Mayans and I believe Ethiopians there being picked for Viper. So Ethiopians recently getting the 100 food, 100 gold back in their favor, starting with on Empire Wars, so slightly better than before. But if anyone has watched the Red Bull Wololo events previously, they know how I feel about that civilization. I think it's a trap.
All right, so, you know, it just dawned on me once we obviously conclude this draft. Is Riley going to have to go back up there?
No, I was thinking about that the whole time. He's got other duties. Maybe we can find another
that's funny.
cartographer or something
Yeah.
to go up there.
Well, hey, Magyars, I mean, that's a familiar
Hindustanis.
pick.
I mean, Magyars and Hindustanis, you know what you're going to get with those, right? It's early cavalry pressure. Hindustanis have a lot more options, I think, but Magyars, usually you're opening with the scouts or going into an archer range a little bit later, yeah.
But I mean, as far as like the openings go for Empire Wars, all these civilizations are very different. Viper's gone for 3 archer civilizations, which means he will always tend to open a bit defensive as archers is a bit slower and more so stronger towards the mid game. So he knows what's coming, like especially picking archer civilizations when you've got Bulgarians in there.
And there's Tatars, and Outcrop is the final map. That's an excellent pick. Excellent pick.
Yeah, lots of extra sheep on that map, I believe. Very easy to protect yourself there.
I also wonder if you're Viper, if you're taking this set a little bit for granted, maybe, you know, you think you're pretty confident coming in, you've never played against KingstoNe, he's never been in a LAN event. Are you banning maps to hide strategies later? And are you banning civs to hide strategies later? Like the way the Shoals ban, you know?
I think he's going to have enough tools in his tool belt, so to speak, where he does not have to show his best strategies. Now, there's a fun conversation, which we will talk about later on. There's a story with Doubt where Doubt lost the series and then later said, I'm never going to hide a strategy again because he wasn't able to use the strategy later on. So it's a really tricky thing, and the level is so high that I think that there's nothing crazy that he's really going to hide. He's going to still show his best.
Yeah, and the players, we just saw them walk by, so they're making their way to the main stage, and our main stage is incredibly impressive. I know Riley showed it to you for a few seconds there. Our players are going to make their entrance onto said stage, and Kingston, the nerves have to be welling up. Viper, I think the nerves are still there. I don't think you ever quite get over it.
You like it.
Especially with the magnificence of this setup. Even compared to last year, it's even better.
I mean, the energy's got to be addicting, right?
Yeah.
Like we feel it when we're casting. There's a competitive nature to it. That pressure is really what makes the best moments. So, you know, one thing I want to bring up here is just like, if Kingston can use this moment to become a massive star in our game, right? Like there's not too many Mexican high-level players. He comes in here in a last-minute ticket. If he could beat the Viper of all people, what a story that would be.
Even taking a game, I think, would be, that's a good goal for him. Taking a game is a good goal, and if you take a game on a best of 3, that's automatically a very competitive best of 3,
Sure,
right?
of course, yeah.
Okay, so I think our players are about to enter the stage. And here he comes right now, Kingston, the legend from Mexico. First time ever playing against the Viper, and it's going to be in the biggest Age of Empires tournament of all time. The biggest Age of Empires 2 tournament of all time. 3 games at this one in total, of course, but Age of Empires 2 taking the stage right now, and there he is. He looks confident.
Yep, trying to soak it all in, I'm sure, make his way over to his desk. They were both sitting in those chairs about half hour ago with their books, probably looking at the game, testing their hotkeys, testing the setup. They have been able to practice, of course, but when you sit in the desk, it is a very different feeling.
And he knows the camera is on him. Deep breaths right there, analyzing his civs once again. And, oh, the Viper is going to be making his way to his office shortly, and this truly is his office. This is where he thrives. This is where he does his work. The greatest Age of Empires 2 player of all time, our former Red Bull champion last year here in Heidelberg. The Walk of Purpose.
Yeah, and I mean, what his story was last year, right? Also, does he have no shoes on right now?
Well, he's like I said, it's a home office. You know, it's not
used to the waist up Zoom call. You know,
it's not business casual here. I mean, he's very
Put
comfortable.
some shoes on. Like that was such a good intro from us. He's got no shoes. Come on. God, I don't know if he can hear us over there, but
if there's any player that's going to be comfortable here, might as well be him, right?
Yeah,
he's been here, done that.
Yeah, he's here to get a win. He doesn't give a crap what he looks like. Man. Well, anyways, at this point, you know, I'm sure they have written down what civilizations were on that board in there. Remember, this is very different. You do not have a second tab to pull up on your other monitor. You can't reference that like you normally would, and that's a very important distinction. So they got to think through, where would this civilization be played? Where do I want to counter their best strategy?
Worried. What is it?
He's probably been told something like,
Very
put your shoes
perplexed.
on, and he's like,
yeah.
He's like, but I don't have shoes.
Or he's just now realizing that a castle floor is quite cold.
Yeah. How do I quick wall this coldness from my feet? But no, I mean, they're going to be getting in here shortly. And Dave, I mean, the map is just an amazing map for Bulgarians, I feel. I mean, Magyars and Hindustanis, all these civilizations can be great. But again, if I could think of a civilization and a map for KingstoNe to open it up and try and beat Viper in 10 minutes, this is the moment.
Bulgarians have so many tools, man. They have so many tools for that early pressure. Maybe if you're in a stalemate game, they start to run out of those options, right? But you can go for the men-at-arms, archers. I know it's not very common in Empire Wars, but you can go for scouts as well.
Yeah, sure.
A good tech tree there. And if you want to make a tech switch with them, the blacksmith is so fast.
Yeah, you can always beat your opponent to the punch, and again, those early fights are going to have to matter so much here. And now, granted, my experience is going to be less relevant than some of the others out here, but considering Viper has never played the guy, I can tell you that KingstoNe is incredibly smothering off early pressure. And in the event that he doesn't kill you in Feudal Age, he has an ability to macro behind that pressure and get to Castle Age a minute, 2 minutes faster to finish you there. So he is a really special talent. Excited for the guy to have this opportunity, obviously, and not sure what he's writing down there, but he's getting ready.
I love the fact that there's probably so many people watching this right now that are saying, who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is this guy? And you're going to see a lot more from him because the last, I think, 3 major events we've had in our community, not even counting the Red Bull Qualifiers that he did amazing in, he has had great placements and great results, and he will continue to do so. And he's such a class act. He's a great guy, and he's a phenomenal player.
He is, without a doubt, top 20 in the world right now, based on other tournaments included as well. So I believe he's proven that, and there's enough examples of it.
Yep.
And that's exciting because we don't have too many people break into that and then also be his age. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe he's 20 years old. 20 years old. The last year, he's gone up like, 300 elo on the ladder, and just it gets me pumped.
It does too,
an awesome
because
matchup.
This is one of the guys you play against on the ladder.
Yeah.
You're all proud. He's like he's like a son to you.
One of us made it. One of us made it.
We grinded our way out of that 50 to 100 rank.
Just fed off me the last 6
Rose
months.
to the top, yeah.
But I mean, again, we have to revisit this conversation. The fact that 2 players that are so highly ranked have never played against each other is insane to me. Not even one ranked game. We asked both of them, by the way. They both said the same thing. So.
I mean, we could have asked Viper, but it's possible Viper wouldn't have remembered. He plays hundreds of games. But going up against the greatest player of all time, like
you have to know.
KingstoNe would know. He looked at us with 100% certainty that he had never played him.
Can you imagine getting the call, hey, we need you to fly from Mexico to Germany.
Yeah, today.
By the way, yeah, and by the way, you're going to play Viper, so have fun.
Yeah. I think he's just kind of soaking up the moment. As with all these players, even Viper, like he's been here before, he's been at big tournaments before, but you can tell that everyone at this tournament is just kind of soaking it in. They know it's like a once-in-a-lifetime, well, now twice-in-a-lifetime for a couple of us, experience, and it is certainly unique. It is very unique.
Regardless of if you've been here before, though, coming to a new place, new environment, a different monitor, of course you have your same keyboard and mouse, you've tested settings, but it is a foreign feeling initially.
Well, that's part of the skill of a LAN event.
Yeah.
You have to overcome that. You have to overcome that, and that's part of the experience that comes in with Viper. And we can see our wonderful virtual reality symbols coming up for our civs there. So I believe that's a Gulam.
I believe it is as well.
So he's playing Hindustanis, I believe?
I guess so. I mean, if he's playing Magyars, it's really confusing. So I would imagine he's playing Hindustanis, and the Viper getting ready here. I don't know. Is here. It's going to be a plumed archer.
Well, the wrist brace?
Showtail warrior. Well, it is possible he can move more freely without.
Is that a civ?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were commenting on the fact he didn't have it on. Yeah.
And we'll see. Both players getting set up here, and.
On the topic of the wrist brace, by the way, I did hear Viper talking earlier. He basically said his wrist is in a stable situation. It's been the same for about like a year and a half now, so things have not worsened, which is great to hear, and I think things have been pretty good based on not only how he did it the last Red Bull Wololo, but what he's done since.
He sounds more confident when he talks about it.
Yeah. He's certainly been playing amazing Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been so cool to see so many people here already. Obviously, you guys need to give yourselves a big pat in the back because you are here on day one. First hour still, I think. So many people, I'm sure, are working hard at work, and their bosses are not noticing that they're here with us at the moment. And then other people, you know, may be staying up late over the next couple days. You know, whatever sacrifice you make to be here to watch Age of Empires, we're going to make sure it's worth it for you.
Yep, and tell all your friends. If you used to play Age of Empires with a friend 10 years ago, you haven't talked to them in 10 years, make sure you send them the link.
Yeah.
It's very useful. We want to get as many new people in here as possible. And what better setting to get new people in? And there's the unique unit for Viper, and I believe that's a Keshik.
Also, the unit receives a little bit of gold when they raid, and apparently that just plates their armor.
It looks beautiful, doesn't it?
It does look really good.
Man, I want a color like that.
I think you know, Microsoft's going to give Red Bull called like, yo, you're making our graphics look bad. Like, stop making our graphics look bad, okay?
Exactly. It is so cool. I was so excited to see that when they mentioned it at first.
Yep.
And it's a really nice addition. One of the many additions that they've made. The production team here is astounding, as you guys are going to see throughout this next, what is it? We have over a week, I guess a week and 2 days of content for Red Bull Wololo Legacy. Some of it Age of Empires 2, obviously 2 other games in the mix as well. And Viper just getting a little bit of assistance there, and Kingston getting the last little bit of nerves out of the way.
Yeah, probably hopped in there. Plays like your opening, maybe. Do your opening like 10 different times if they don't say you're ready to go yet. And, you know, test every little kink you can. But Hindustanis, man, I mean.
Because we're going to play Outcrop, right? So he wants a mobile civilization. He knows he's probably coming up against Tatars. Like, you look at that Civ matchup.
You just know it's Tatars.
You know it's Tatars on Outcrop.
Yep.
So.
He did also ban the Gurjaras and the Britons, 2 other heavy sheep-focused civilizations on that map, but he didn't pick one up himself. But look at this. We're getting ready, folks. We are getting ready.
Oh, he looks like he means business. Look at that. It's like an advertisement.
He looks really cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how nerdy we would look?
How do you do that, by the way? And we can see our rating here. Obviously, we look at Viper, 7 out of 10 strategy. That was the key. You know, when we were really analyzing that.
Could not change it.
I mean, one tournament a strategist does not make.
It's not good enough.
Exactly.
No, I think,
exactly.
Yeah, he hasn't proven enough.
But all the other stats are maxed out. It's looking at like my Tony Hawk character back in the day.
Yo, let's go.
After I beat all the levels. Kingston obviously experienced a 3 out of 10. I mean, all of his tournament experience basically comes in the last 6 months in big matches.
The big ones. The big ones,
and he's never been to a LAN before. So we have the micro and the macro up there. He's a very fast player. Strategy, 7 out of 10 as well. I mean, we're kind of looking at the qualifiers. He had some great strats, some great builds, and that's what we're taking off. It's just a limited sample size.
Yeah, exactly. And truly, like, if you look at the talents we have now, like Hera or Leary, for example, 3 years ago, we would had lowered their experience, lowered their strategy, but we would have had their micro, macro speed very high. So for someone like him, again, first big stage experience, we'll get to see what his true potential could be, but it's a great starting point of what will be a great career.
I love this storyline. I absolutely love this storyline. We keep going on about it. It's like Kingston, first time.
There's been no other time we could have this storyline. Yeah,
it's amazing. It is amazing. And Viper, well, if we were playing another game with Stat XP, Viper would be the clear favorite here. And we're into the game already. Outcropped game number 1 of Red Bull Wololo Legacy. Welcome, everyone. T90, tell us a little bit about the opening here.
Well, so there's plenty of woodlines on this map. So for the most part, players are going to just ease themselves into this series, and they're just going to see what the opponent's doing. Viper's going to be opening archery range, and eventually will move out, but Kingston just moving around with his scout trying to find out. But Dave, there's no real threat for maximum amount of damage in Feudal Age. It's all about Castle Age here.
Yeah, and you see Viper already walling up. And Kingston's already walling up. Like you said, the little wood lines, short walls. It doesn't take too much time at all. And Kingston's fully walled and Viper's fully walled, and they are going to be engaging for those resources outside the map. So in the center here, we see
Viper trapped him. Viper trapped his scout.
Oh no,
just
what a start.
Just letting him know, welcome, buddy. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Kingston gets his scout, initial scout trapped inside, not only inside Viper's base, but inside a smaller base inside the base.
Viper won't kill it. He's like, nah, you can stay there.
He'll keep it alive. But maybe Kingston, maybe he can distract him a little bit, because sometimes Viper gets so tunnel visioned on keeping a unit trapped that he doesn't notice the other stuff going on.
But look at those picks. Like, this is such a big deal on this map. Tatars get 50% more food from those resources, and the scout not being out there to bring those in.
Ooh, but a
could be
sloppy
big problem.
villager. A sloppy villager. That villager tried to go finish the house, and I think Viper will be best suited just giving up her life. And yeah, he's just going to have her attack the archer and die, essentially, outside in the cold because he doesn't want to open that gate to let Kingston inside. And there's a hole? There's a gigantic hole, and I believe that pig has found it. I believe the pig found it. Yes, it did.
Yeah, he's checking it, and he could place the houses. That's one of those where if you're in Kingston's position, you do not expect Viper to have a hole.
Well, I say it all the time, you know, when we're casting. If your opponent doesn't know there's a hole, then essentially you're fully walled. Because pros, a lot of the times, just assume that their opponent will be good enough to wall all those little gaps. They don't even try and click through. And Viper will now, that he's fully walled, make his way across the map. Viper is 1 minute and 30 seconds away from Castle Age. Kingston is 2 minutes away from Castle Age. So a little bit slower than him, but not too far behind.
There could be a villager pick here. In fact, it should be. Now, wouldn't it be something if Kingston, against the Viper, gets a quick wall down? You can't easily
on that
wall
hill, though,
on that hill.
That's going to be a big task. He has the archer range, though, with something inside of it. Look, oh, it's just a skirmisher, I mean.
Yeah, he's got a little bit. He did move out with his army, remember, but it's coming back home now, and that archer has been found. But I think Viper, you don't want to lose your scout.
Kingston didn't even have fletching, so Viper's fine to take that out.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, he was delaying fletching to go up to Castle Age. I think Viper got fletching along the way once he had clicked up. And Kingston is now going to have to deal with a Viper that is in Castle Age earlier with automatic thumb ring here with Tatars. And that's going to be very difficult.
This is the thing. You're Kingston's position and Viper hits Castle faster than you. Your immediate thought is don't die. But Viper's not the type of player where he has to all in. So he's still got 100 stone in the bank after selling off some of that. He could easily, with that food count especially, drop some town centers and just expand his economy.
Yeah, and we see Kingston just with a spear over there. Viper adds in another TC immediately. So Viper is going for a less aggressive approach, and we're not surprised by that at all. I mean, he's got the walls up, and he's got the archers forward. This is kind of like defense through aggression at the moment for Viper, and now Crossbow Bodkin comes in, immediately turns around with those archers to engage with Thumb Ring and adds a TC on the edge of the map. That's very far away. Kingston's unlikely to find that pretty soon, but Kingston also going to the same side.
He is, however, getting his army picked off at the moment, and it's really hard for him to even justify upgrades, honestly, with that army. They are going to the same side as you said, though, Dave, so possibly a talking point for the long run. But, I mean, Viper after the trap, and then, of course, the loss of a villager, so good and bad start for him. He's looking pretty good right now.
And you can see Viper not taking his eye off that army, and behind all of this, he's booming with 3 TCs. And you know he's perfectly fine. You look at the idle TC time for both players. I mean, they're keeping their macro up. They're keeping their villagers coming out, and the worker efficiency for Viper, let's just compare that worker efficiency last minute. 87% for Viper, 55% for Kingston.
Well, he's still got sheep. Some of those villagers are still underneath his town center right now, but look at the value again for 3 crossbows can do, Dave, and Kingston just now getting Bodkin Arrow for a 5 skirmisher army. But the good news for Kingston is that he is in this game. This game will continue in Castle Age and possibly even go to Imp at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but does Kingston really want to get into an imp battle with Viper? I think the key for Kingston here might be to just stay on these 3 TC and start to add aggression here in late Castle Age and start to find where Viper is on the edge of the map. Because if you're just fighting in the middle, Viper was faster the Castle Age than you. Viper has the pigs. Viper is Tatars, and Viper is just nerding it out with those crossbows until he realizes he's going to die. But now, no, he just lets him go.
Lets him go, has 2 cav archers on the map, and he gets in with his scout, just being annoying, Dave. But I did see 2 things. So first off, Kingston intentionally placed one of those town centers on stone. That is a conscious decision from him. And immediately after that, researched the stone mining upgrade. And look, he's even has more villagers on stone. So
he's thinking Gulam.
Gulam, and I mean, we saw the amazing Gulam graphic from the Red Bull team right before this, but it's a unit that, even though it's been nerfed, is very strong right now.
I think Viper will likely go into a few cav archers, kind of test the waters here. He's got to suspect that Kingston might be going into Gulam, and once he sees that, he might even make a switch into Keshik, because Hindustanis no longer get Halberdier. So the switch back into camels is a very difficult one for them, I think. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of gold.
The Viper loses his scout there. Kingston probably was annoyed dealing with that, but Hindustanis have very cheap villagers at this stage of the game, and it is 59 for the Mexican and 61 for the Viper.
Of course he's getting relics.
Yeah, of course. Take it late game, Dave.
That's the Viper special, right? Getting relics a few minutes into Castle Age, and now Viper will send some more villagers to Stone. He knows he needs the castles to secure those locations, and there's the market from Kingston. A little bit of a helping hand there for the economy as Viper. Has he already discovered that TC? He's coming over here because I think he saw the dead body. Yep.
The most important thing to see here is how much his opponent has on stone, but he doesn't know how long that stone has been brought in unless he clicks those tiles of stone to check, which I wouldn't put past the Viper to check, and it could be an important thing.
And Viper is now going out to the other edge, too.
Skirmisher on Monk.
That is annoying.
The Monk can win that, but it's all about timing
This
and
is
range.
annoying. Speaking of annoying, that one Cav Archer over there on the stone is going to be very frustrating for Kingston. I don't think he doesn't really have any army whatsoever, unupgraded skirmishers. And Viper will just be sitting on that stone. Already picked one villager, will continue to sit there. And that lets Kingston know that Viper knows that he is on stone too, as Kingston is going to get them. No! He doesn't get the Monk. It survives for another day. Very pious individual.
Well, there's another skirmisher and a spearman, and I'm sure they're looking for revenge right now. But the castle spot is going to be really important right now for Kingston, because even 4 Cav Archers with Bodcanero could deny a castle if he doesn't have too many skirms out there. But yep, kills a Monk. Unfortunately, loses some of these skirmishers as well, it looks like, or at least will.
You know what? His economy's looking pretty good for Kingston. Like, he added that 4th TC, and he's floating a little bit of wood right now, but he's got the requisite stone for a castle, and he has 80 villagers versus the 75 from Viper. Now, if we look at the eco upgrades, Viper does have wheelbarrow, and Viper has been a lot more efficient this game, but Kingston now getting his castle up, and he clicks wheelbarrow as well, and Viper will not be surprised to see that foundation there. Viper even trying to deal with that annoying skirmisher, the pesky skirm on the wood line.
So the question is, what do you do against the Golem right now? He has 5 Cav Archers, and I think their Pierce armor is something like 5 in Castle, which could be dealt with by Cav Archers.
Man. I think it's Keshik.
Well, he's getting cavalry armor right now. He might be tempted to make a knight out of a stable, or maybe he'll rush down that castle, but obviously he doesn't have one yet. And there's some stables, Dave. So he's going to hold off on the Keshik, and he's going to just get something out there so he doesn't lose some map control.
And the Ghoulems are coming onto the field. Now, the Ghoulems, a few months ago, have been slightly nerfed, so they lost 10 HP from their initial starting spot. But as you can tell right there, as those were Tatar Cav Archers on a hill against that Golem, and that Golem almost took one out. So they are very, very strong. The +2 armor isn't even in yet for Kingston. So Viper has to be careful as long as he's going Cav Archers against those Golems, but now he's adding in some Knights.
I feel like, you know, in an ideal world right now, just trying to spitball ideas at the moment, if Kingston can make Viper prep fully for Golems and then switch right into those amazing camels with the Hindustanis, it could be so tough for the Viper to stop, because the Tatars have, I think, the weakest halberdiers in the game. They do get halberdier, but they lack the final 2 armor upgrades.
And Hindustanis, like I mentioned before, don't have Halb, so the camel is your option against Keshik, because pikemen are so much, like, pikemen are technically anti-cavalry in the late game, but they're so much worse than halberdiers.
Yeah. You can see, though, how 1 or 2 knights makes that much of a difference there. And so I think Kingston took a fight he probably shouldn't have taken there. Of course, maybe was looking away, didn't realize exactly what was happening. And yeah, Viper's going to push out here, and Viper's castle might end up being forward with how this is going. He's got a lot of map control coming.
And I think that's why he kept adding in the Cav Archers, right? He adds in the Knights to have some frontline defense against the Golems, and there's the stables right there from Kingston. So he's got 6 Golems on the field, and now maybe he's doing what you said. Maybe he's making that tech switch.
Yeah, I'm really curious on where Viper places this castle, because he cannot place a forward one easily to the northern side. There's already defensive castle there, but okay, he's going to go for a defensive castle. He's just being very patient here, Viper. Completing the Bloodlines upgrade, has the armor obviously for his Knights, and even Ballistics.
Did he see those stables? I wonder if he saw those stables.
Yeah,
he did see. Oh, so now that gives him so much information. The amount of information he can read from that. First, scouting that stone and knowing the castle was coming, seeing the Golems come out, and now seeing the stables, as Kingston is on the way to the Imperial Age first, and Kingston still has that villager lead without handcart, though. So Viper probably a more efficient eco.
Yeah, but this is a lot of pressure right now from the Viper, and if Kingston loses 10 to 15 villagers and can't really push an early Imperial Age, Viper will have the better position. But Viper having the hill here with all the upgrades in his Cav Archers, definitely still in the better spot. And, you know, camels are going to take time, Dave. They take a lot of food and gold. And even though in the past Hindustanis were less weary of, or leery, excuse me, of some type of archer fire, it still is something that you have to be afraid of if you're making camels.
Were those barracks being added?
I believe they were. I believe they were.
3 barracks being added from Viper with that forward castle. Now, he won't like the position of that castle once he sees the Kingston's in it, because he knows where Kingston's castle is, and there's a threat of being trebbed down. But I love the fact he's sitting on the stables. He's preventing Kingston from kind of massing up there. He's letting him know that he's going to hang around for a while. And Kingston actually going for a few Scorpions, too. Maybe he noticed that those Cav Archers were weak from before.
Hey, fun fact we've definitely not talked about at all today, guys. This is the first time Viper and Kingston have faced each other.
I can't believe we haven't mentioned that one yet.
Someone in the back room was like, damn it, they mentioned that.
Look at the Eco KD. It is 9-1 for Viper, but I mean, Kingston is still keeping up on the villager count, and I think it's just shown the lack of control that Viper could take over the middle of the map so far. So I think this is a good opening game for Kingston to just let it go deep, get the nerves settled, and he still has a really good shot.
Yeah, he's definitely got to push this castle, though. If Mapu could give a check on the vision of Viper on the left for a moment when he finds it, I bet you Viper's got tons of, he's got it all scouted. He's got Cav Archer there. So, like, that area is not going to be an area that he can push into without being found.
Yeah, and here come the Scorpions. They took out some of those weak Cav Archers from before, and now there's a massive Camels that Viper maybe needs to be worried about. But Kingston is in Imp right now, and he still hasn't clicked that heavy Camel upgrade, which takes a very long time.
It does, yeah. And, of course, Bracer for those Cav Archers. It is a very quick upgrade. Viper's got resources floating. Look at the stone. He can repair that castle forever if he has to.
I love those houses in front of that Treb. I absolutely love that play from Kingston. A lot of players would be so focused on their other military. I mean, the Scorpions are kind of out to lunch there, but how valuable are they at the moment? But the houses in front of that Treb mean the Keshiks and the Knights can't just come in and snipe that. And Viper's going to have to spend that stone that you said he had so much in the bank repairing that castle. Also, villager idle time as Kingston tries to get a good engagement here. You can see Heavy Camel being clicked a while ago, but like I said, it's a very, very slow upgrade. And the heavy camels would fare a lot better here than the normal camel riders.
Yeah, it's such a painful thing to wait for because camels have so little pierce armor. So he's been an imp forever. He's got the trebs out, which is great. But Viper's not even hesitating. He will have to hesitate though once the upgrades come in for Kingston.
I love the fact that
so close to that.
Viper is just hanging out on that ridgeline. It shows his game sense, right? He's expanding in the south because he knows Kingston is fully focused on him. And he's just kind of hanging out on that ridge line there with the Cav Archers. Every time Kingston tries to engage, he runs away. Kingston runs back to protect the Trebs, and Viper is there again. And now Viper's on the wood line once again. You said he had a ton of stone. He can kind of let this castle go as long as Kingston can't push out further than that. And he needs to make sure he keeps his Cav Archers alive because he's in the middle of a tech switch right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I mentioned Tatars have weak halbs, I didn't expect Viper to actually go for it. But the important thing to mention is Halberdiers do more damage mainly due to the bonus damage. So while the blacksmith upgrades are always important, I think you could make an argument that it's better to have halb and less upgrades than it is to have pikemen and more upgrades.
Cav Archer's still good here against the camels, especially in high numbers. And you can see Viper getting the Imperial Age upgrades as the villagers from Kingston. I don't know where they're going. Oh, they're making another castle up north there. So he's kind of taking over that area, maybe realizing that he needs more access to gold and stone as Viper is continuing to just sit on that hill and kind of abuse the Civ bonus of Tatars.
Also, he's got a lot of halbs. It's not like he's just got 10 of them. He's got a lot of halberdiers there, but he did trickle treb there, as we say. And that's a pretty big mistake from Viper. He has the castles to make more, but he doesn't have the castles in the position that he needs because it's on the other side.
I think Ghoulam Camel composition might be worrying for Viper, and I think that's what Kingston is trying to tech into right now. But Kingston is being raided constantly throughout this on the woodlines. Oh, those Cav Archers, if they get in, that's going to be very annoying for him as he's trying to fight this with villagers. But Viper seems to be holding the pressure nicely. So I wonder if Kingston's going to find that window for Ghulams.
The elite Ghoulam, there's a massive difference between Castle Age Ghulams and elite Ghulams. They will have 8 pierce armor now, and with 8 pierce armor, the Cav Archers and the Halbs, not that pierce armor helps against Halbs, but anyways, the Halbs aren't so good against them anyways. It's a great unit to have.
Look at how much idle.
There's so
many idle farms there. He's only got 18.
He's getting every technology. We might even see flaming camels in this game, by the way. It's another thing we could consider, Viper.
Geez, I mean, he's got so many farms idled there, only 18 on food right now for KingstoNe. We compare that to Viper over here, and Viper has 42 on food currently. He's getting Blast Furnace as it is. We see Blast Furnace now coming in for KingstoNe, and KingstoNe is going to go full into the Golem, and Viper is adding more archer ranges. So maybe as he gets Heavy Cav Archer here, he feels like just a giant mass of Heavy Cav Archer with some halbs to distract in front might be enough to stop the Golems.
And again, the hill is so important. The extra damage you're doing on top of that hill makes such a big difference in this fight. But if there's ever going to be a fight you could take, this is going to be it, David. It's
Look at
really
the way
hard to
look
see
at the
this.
way Viper just weaseled his way through the halves, and then KingstoNe has to go all the way around. That was absolutely beautiful. He had them on spread formation. He waited till the last second, went right through the middle of those halberdiers, and he's using them as a meat shield. He doesn't care about those halbs. They're very cheap. He cares about his cav archers, and now camels are going down, and he's started to weather the storm as he adds in some more units behind. But right now his queue is actually quite lacking. 4 trebs only.
Yeah, he's going to queue trebs now and no army, whereas before it was,
there we go.
it was army but no trebs. But
there we go.
He's got the buildings, Dave. The thing I'm noticing, though, is there's 25 Golems on the field right now. There's 25. There's more in queue. The castles are there on the right. If Viper were to start to lose the middle and the right side to any treb push from KingstoNe, maybe, even with all that left control, Viper might just not have the units to go for here.
Golems are a magical unit.
They're sick.
Golem can get so many things done, especially if KingstoNe. I would have liked to see him go into the eco there with those Golems instead of turning back.
I agree.
As he's trying to get the cav archers, but at the same time, I mean, he's taking a good fight up there, and he's got more camels in the queue too. His farmer count now is up to 48, the exact same as Viper, and KingstoNe maybe thinking about that south side too as he continues to push through the middle.
He's surpassed the Viper's population. This is the first time he has played the GOAT of Age of Empires ever, and he has the population lead currently. 170 population for Viper, 180 for KingstoNe.
And he's into the eco.
He is into that economy.
Viper adding a defensive castle home. That's a very smart play. I know a lot of people love to add them on the hills, but I think players have realized that protecting your farm eco, especially against a unit like Golems, is so important. And KingstoNe is piling on the pressure right now, but he's not really killing Viper, so this might be slightly concerning for him if Viper manages to stabilize. An elite Keshik is coming in right now.
And Viper has tried the heavy cav archers. He has tried the halbs. He utilized some monks earlier, too. Is Keshik going to be an option for him if his castles are all on the other side of the map, Dave? Because that northern side still has about 20, 30 villagers for the Viper. KingstoNe now is the one who needs the trebuchets, and I saw him lose one a second ago. There's obviously a lot of different areas for him to focus on at the moment, but he is almost a 200 population. He has the better economy, and he has the better military.
I think this might be a classic situation, though, where KingstoNe kind of takes back momentum. He's tossing in units, he's killing villager, he's killing army, but he's not building up a solid mass behind, right? So at some point, Viper's going to have that massive heavy cav archers, which we just saw right there, and it's going to get to an unstoppable force that KingstoNe can't really outraid.
It is extremely difficult to have to rely on a unique unit when you need trebuchets. And he does finally have one here, but he is also trebbing just archer ranges, right? It really feels like if you can get rid of the castles, the Golems can take care of the rest.
And he has no control over that south side. That is all Viper. So Viper is contesting the north. Viper is holding on at his base, and KingstoNe has no pressure on all the valuable resources in the south. And now Viper, I mean, we saw him before with a couple cav archers. KingstoNe manages to get a house up there to wall that off, but he's being annoying in the farm eco behind, and KingstoNe is now going into Imperial Camel. Okay, here we go.
That makes sense, especially because Viper is not really making that many halberdiers anymore. And also, they're incredible at taking out buildings as well. That great raids here from the Viper. As we see the Golems still trying to get those cav archers. The cav archers are happy to just sit here.
And the Golems are happy to just leave, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Where are they going? We don't know.
Yeah, it's smart. Again, if we look at that northern side, though, there still hasn't been a considerable push to the castle. Will that come for KingstoNe? He is also at risk of overbooming here. It's very easy to do that with his civilization because the villagers are so cheap. But 144 villagers and counting for him. He's going to need more military.
Golems are being split up, I believe, in the south. He's going for a castle up here, and Golems are being split up, and they're harassing the farm eco. Now, I saw Viper going for it. We see it right up the top there. Another defensive castle in the farms, and he's still on stone because he managed to secure so much of that extra resource in the north initially and in the south later on in the game.
And that 35 on gold for KingstoNe is a very deceiving stat because it is all in 1 or 2 locations, and Viper's just holding. He's got about 65% of the map. He also has 3 relics. All these things are insane in the long run, but Imperial Camel is in, Dave. this is probably potentially the final moment for Kingston to use his Civ because he needs the gold. It's limited. He's got to push now.
He needs to take care of these Keshiks in the back, though. Those have been a headache for him the entire time. I see another army, I believe, coming from Viper in the center, and he's still holding in the north side there. He's still holding onto that res, and more Cav Archers on the way. When you get enough Cav Archers, especially with Tatars on a hill, they can deal with the Imperial Camel. They can deal with the Ghoulims as long as your micro is on point. And Viper is 5 trebs from the south because he knows Kingston is completely distracted in the north.
And again, he's just been so patient. Right? Just like a snake waiting to pounce.
Wait, snakes pounce?
What would you call it? A strike?
Yeah,
that's
it's like
a strike. A strike is a pounce. A pounce is a strike. It's really all the same here. Listen, I've done extensive research on German snakes. Okay, so you gotta just know where you're at.
They pounce.
Well, they have pounced here, these camels, but I'll tell you what, that does not look very good at all.
No.
The Cav Archers are owning, again, the hills, Dave, and Viper, he knew.
Yep.
He knew he just needed to hold these areas.
I think if Kingston were to do this again, at some point when he was pushing into Viper's base with the Ghoulims, while Viper was distracted, he would have built up trebs and gone to the south. But, like you said, if you're going unique unit, it is so hard to get that treb mass up because you feel like you just need to keep flooding units constantly.
At 64 army and 43 Cav Archers, I mean, I feel like that Cav Archer mass is good enough to fight off everything on their own at the moment. 54 on gold for Kingston.
Yep.
Right there on your screens, you can see about 25 of them. I imagine he's got another area on the map.
Yep, oversaturated gold.
It's just not going to work long-term for him anymore.
Yeah, and we look at the population now. I mean, 160 and Viper is max pop up at 200. He's got 24 halbs in the queue. He's got 45 heavy Cav Archers. And remember, he researched Elite Keshik, so those units are very valuable when he chooses to produce to counter the Ghoulims. And still somewhere, he's got 6 Trebuchet.
Yeah, and I just love how patient he's been and how calculated he has been with the raids. He never went for a raid with more than, I want to say, 10 units, Dave, which is the lowest you typically see. He knew he had openings all of Imperial Age.
But Kingston, I mean, Kingston's still alive. He's still alive. It's a struggle now for sure, but he's managed to deny that castle. Viper is going to delete it, and we go on with this game. Now, a reminder, we do have a time limit in these games. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes in-game time, so we're not even close. We're at 40 minutes right now.
But if we were to go to the timer at any point during this event, it would likely be on this map. That's just my guess, because it does produce these types of games, which is going to make it one of my favorites, to be honest.
And look at that, Kingston
Viper
calls
wins.
it. Viper wins, and it was in doubt a little bit. At certain moments there, I think Viper was in control most of the game, but certain moments there it was in doubt, and Kingston, I think that's a great showing for not only his first game at Red Bull Wololo Legacy, not only his first game at a LAN, but his first game against the Viper ever. Don't know if we mentioned that. It was a pretty good effort.
I mean, a lot of people who didn't know the whole story would be like, yeah, this guy belongs.
Yep.
Yeah, Viper's one of the best ever, and that's the match you have to start off in this event. Like, yeah, he belongs here. And, you know, I think we kind of broke it down well in that game, Dave, that Viper, he recognized that maybe the units weren't the best for him. And yes, the Hindustanis had so many good opportunities, but it was the map control, it was the patience you would expect from probably the best post-in player we might have.
Yep, and now I believe we go to Kingston's home map next, and we see the win marked for Tatars and the loss marked for Hindustanis there. So we have Moras for Kingston. And, well, Magyar seemed like a good pick. Bulgarians seem like a good pick. I don't see Vietnamese, but Moras has a lot of shorefish. You want a Civ that can comfortably go into scouts so you can immediately convert that food into a unit.
There's also a world where you could see Man-at-Arms. We do not see it that frequently. But if you have Bulgarians as your first pick, and you have Moras as
you start
your
with a
map
barracks. I mean, you can just...
Yeah, and you can, with the amount of food you can get, you can actually have scouts and Man-at-Arms. And Viper's got Archer Civs out there, so he is fully expecting that. And there is one thing Viper will have to rely on, I can tell you, for the first couple minutes of the next game, and that's going to be his quick walls. Because if that does not work for him...
It's so tough to quick wall with those shorefish, too.
I know, the path
is
so weird,
tough. It is a... So I was describing this map yesterday to Riley, and from my impression on this, it's kind of you have to make a decision right away. Either you're going to contest the fish, or you're going to fall back and wall.
Yeah.
And if you have a Civ like Humans, that works because you get that second TC up. If you half and half, you are going to lose this map, because if you plan on holding your fish and you don't wall behind, as soon as you lose that, your opponent has such a massive advantage. there is a world where you can camp behind the walls and not take the fish, but you have to be prepared for that from minute 1.
I think it is likely that we will see 0 farms from Kingston in this entire game. I think he wins or loses on the fish.
And that's a good strategy,
There's no
in my
backup.
opinion.
Yeah, there's no backup eco whatsoever for him.
Yeah, I mean, you start with 4 sheep and some berries.
Yeah.
So that's your backup right there. But there is so much shorefish on this map. And ideally, you take control with the military, maybe some forward towers, some spears, some scouts. Scouts, in my opinion, are the best on this. But you take control and you keep moving and rotating around that circle in the middle. Also, we have to point out, folks, that in all of our years as casters here for Age of Empires 2, I think Tristan will agree with me, I have never seen a more secretive meta developing. Players will not talk about it.
It's that, but also, like, everything was very quiet the last few
That's
weeks.
what I'm saying. Like,
You know,
like, we thought no one was practicing, and then we get here, and people are telling us, like, Leary's the most practiced player, and we're like, what?
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, and it was interesting as well, like, players were practicing against each other, and there were instances where I noticed, I didn't ask, but I noticed that certain players only trained with 1 or 2. They didn't want to train with some of the others in the room, so I mean, again, you had so many different ways to qualify for this event. We had the previous winners. We had winners of other big events over the past year, which was a really unique way of getting people here. And then, of course, the qualifiers. But I think this game is the best opportunity for Kingston. It's his home map choice. I'm assuming it's Bulgarians. Wait, does that mean we get to see a Conic then? Are they going to do this for every single Civ?
I think that's the plan.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they didn't. Maybe for something like Goss, they didn't even bother making us scrolly. Do we need this one? Nah, let's save the budget.
That's true, actually. Oh, there's the Plumed Archer. Okay, that is way more buff than the Plumed Archer in the game.
That Plumed Archer is ready to rumble. Oh my goodness, that's like a bouncer at the Plumed Archer Club.
Seriously.
Holy.
Wow. He does, like, when Plumed Archers
He just rolls up in like a Fred Flintstone car.
Totally.
Yeah.
Can they, like, make me look like that? Is that, do they have the possibility of
There's
that?
no technology in the world that can make you.
Yeah, that's probably true. That was really deep. That cut so deep. That hurt. But it's okay. We're moving on anyways. There's going to be a Conic here, I assume. Watch the Conic be like the most frail, weak individual you've ever seen in your life.
Oh man, I'm expecting big things from that Conic. 100%. Kingston, well, we're expecting big things from him here on his home map. He's looking focused once again. I think, like we said, that was a good first game. And especially, you know, when you got the nerves rolling, you start to look at things like idle TC time. 3 or 4 or 5 minutes into that game, he had like 13 seconds of idle TC time. So the macro was there.
Yeah, mechanics are super solid.
Yeah.
It was just Viper was, you know, it was an interesting game where I think they had a max of like 10 units in Castle Age for a while, and Viper did so much more with his, and here we are. And this is Arabia, which would have then been Kingston's choice if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, this was Viper's home map. You could choose either, and we've got Magyars for Kingston. And we've got Viper as the Mayans. So not forget about the shorefish conversation unless Kingston wins this game.
Yeah, it's very interesting that we're going to Arabia here. But Magyars, I mean, one of the best Empire Wars civs. And it's Arabia, so we don't really need to talk about the type of map. Everyone knows this one. It's an absolute classic, even for Empire Wars. And we've got scouts coming in here with skirms behind from Kingston. So lots of food being spent on this army composition. And meanwhile, for Viper with the Mayans, he opens with more spearmen. He's kind of building up archers, keeping those in his archer range. He's nervous about the scouts with forging, coming in and picking off those archers early. And he's going to escort them across the map with his spearmen. He also made an extra eagle early, and it looks like he's just going to do the little walls around his woodline to deal with those scouts until the spearmen get back.
Now, one of the big bonuses with the Mayans, and you see it a lot in Standard Age of Empires, is the fact that their walls are cheaper, but in this game mode, it's really hard to protect yourself. And we did miss a villager getting sniped by Kingston. You can see down the Eco KD at the bottom right. So Kingston did open up within that first minute and snipe a villager before we got everyone in there.
I think if you're playing on Arabia against Magyars and you only lose 1 villager in the first 4 minutes, I think you consider that a win.
Especially if you start with 1 additional villager as Mayans, right? So you consider it even,
Balanced out.
It should balance out in some ways, but Viper has not moved out across the map, and now the skirms are advancing forward. So I love how Kingston has played this. His production buildings have always been firing, Dave. And Viper gets the house down there or tries to.
Kingston has to hold this open until his skirms arrive. Until his skirms and scouts arrive, and he's over that foundation right now. Viper's trying to go for gates. Viper really needs that forward wall in front of his gold. I think he's going to manage to do it. The Eagles are going to add value against the skirmishers, and now the scouts are engaging against the archers, so Kingston maybe has an opportunity to take out those numbers, but Eagles, really good control there from Viper, and you can see how much he needs this position. He's even coming out with the villagers to fight this back, and that is just experience right there from the Snake.
Yeah, it was also a great timing defense there because armor was on the way for Kingston. He definitely forced a fight because he knew this was about to be walled up, but it's easy for us to say there's still a big gap on the right-hand side. So if he truly feels as though he can't get in, I say you just run for it, Dave. I think he should
and that's what he's doing. He's going over there, and he's going to use the mobility of the scouts to get there first and probably prevent that wall. Viper also, game sense telling him, uh-oh, my opponent's going that way. I should probably send my army over. Looking at Viper's resources, he's got 400 gold in the bank. I wouldn't be surprised to see a market and maybe even sell the stone and get up faster. And Kingston... Well, Kingston has double the amount on food of Viper, so if he idles a little bit, there's potential to go up around the same time.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Viper does want to go for the crossbowman upgrade. You would assume he'll want to do that, but Eagles would be looking pretty strong in early Castle Age as well. Unfortunately for Kingston, though, he has not been able to break in, because if this was open, if there were no walls involved, Viper would be GG right now.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been able to break in because Viper is... He's allocated so much importance to getting that wall up in front of the gold, right? We saw the houses come down super early, even rushed out with villagers. He knew this wave of military would be coming, and he preemptively went out there with the vills and killed the smaller military so that he could get these walls down behind and make his way to the Castle Age. 700 gold in the bank for Viper, so it's likely an Eagle switch somewhere along the line here.
That, or he spent so much time walling, he knew that he was going to have to use the market. But my God, he's gone double mining camp.
Yep.
If he starts to, he should probably pull villagers off.
He didn't even sell his stone either. He didn't even sell his stone. Kingston sold his stone, which I think is a smart idea. And Kingston's actually up at a very competitive time here with the Magyar.
He's got to track that army, though. This is a really big moment. So I think it's just dawned on him as well. See, he wants to break in. He wants to break in, attack. But look, Viper knows the army shifted to the left, and Viper is not going to be spotted. There's no potential for a tower for Kingston.
I think Kingston senses this with every fiber of his being, though. He knows it's here, but is he going to do the classic and just miss it? Oh, man, it looks like there's a hole in Kingston's wall as well, and Viper is in the darkness north of the army. Kingston, maybe a false sense of comfort as he explores over to the right side there. He's fully walled.
I would also house that. I mean, I feel like it'd be very useful to have a house there. But yeah, and the reason he's walling later is because he was piling on so much pressure. But you've got to pull your scouts back now. Maybe have 1 or 2 scouts at Viper's
He's
base,
looking for it,
and then 1 or 2 scouts on the other side.
Dude, he's looking for it. Excellent game sense here from Kingston. He knows it's somewhere. I mean, if you're in Viper's position, he probably realizes Viper's up to Castle Age. He probably saw the market, what the prices were. Viper's already bought, right? So he knows the army is somewhere. He just can't find it, and Viper's doing a fantastic job here being a little ninja in the darkness, and he's hiding.
Yeah, Kingston's actually just scouting the rest of the map, Dave. He's not scouting for that army. He was initially, but he's just scouting to the right and the left for good scouting. Good does boost your score and possibly your confidence, but he does not know Viper is there, and Viper saw the wood line. So let's see if Viper waits. Because if he shows himself at all, he's not going to get those villagers.
This is so interesting. Everything about Kingston's movement is telling us that he knows something's wrong. And he was looking for it, and he's going to be like, no, it was there? It's the only place I didn't check.
It's a really bad feeling.
Yeah.
It's a really bad feeling, and you know, he chooses not to try and get any walls behind because he knows how dangerous it is with Viper getting
He's also in Castle Age, so he can start producing some knights. Already +2 armor on the way, and it's looking like he was planning on a forward siege workshop. But Viper is sending forward another army on the left side.
And this is where it gets tricky, right? Because now the army that could have held the position to go for the siege workshop has to come home, allowing Viper to move forward in the middle of the map. So Viper will see those skirms, he'll see the knights, and he'll actually be happy about this for the time being because he just doesn't want to get any damage at home, so he can boom, Dave.
Yeah, and he didn't sell his stone, right? He didn't sell his stone. He had so much gold banked up, he could just simply buy food. And look at that, the second army of crossbows in on the left side. 2 villagers already going down for Kingston. No ballistics for Viper, so he's not going to hit the villagers as they move away. but he's going to use this army to distract and escape with the other one. That's a great
that's
Knight
a great
surround.
engagement.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa, taking me back with that Knight path.
Dude, that was
get
sick.
on top of the crossbows, and
That was
my
sick.
God.
He clears that up for free. I thought Viper was going to take at least a few Knights with him, but
Yeah.
Kingston right through that army. Viper coming with another army into the back. Still no ballistics because he went for the extra TCs. Did manage to deny that siege workshop, which is going to be annoying for Kingston. As he goes for house walls at the back, he needs to get the Knights back there.
Yeah, speaking of annoying, he can't go forward. His siege workshop's denied. He now loses villagers against a player who has added town centers, and Viper has won more games with less. Let's just put it that way. I mean, he's at 54 villagers, taking Kingston down to 44.
He needs 2 villagers forward for that siege workshop. Maybe even think about a second siege workshop and just go all in. Just all in here.
Yeah, do what he can to get that siege going, because the Knights alone probably won't be able to do it. Only Mayans can have 3 TCs and 10 crossbows in queue at this point. I'm sure other civilizations, we might see the Ethiopians or the Britons in this event do a lot of that as well, but the
Here comes
eco
the villager
behind is
again.
beautiful.
She's very industrious. I think that's the same villager that was running away before. And she's,
Well, she has no control over her own life, so she has no option.
She just wants to get the job done. She's coming forward to finish that siege workshop.
Well, again, back to Viper. I mean, obviously he did come in here as the favorite, but he's playing this game so wonderfully well. A sneaky army that would otherwise die if the Knights found them, hitting the wood line. He also has ballistics well-timed at home, and he's on stone, so he can get a defensive castle if the siege becomes a problem. It feels like the timings for Viper are there. He's just going to have to execute off all of his hard work.
I don't know about Kingston adding skirms here. Unless he's thinking about going into, like, do you really have the resources to get siege and elite skirm and continue skirm production? It feels like everything should be funneled towards your siege and then knights. And, like, even getting bowsaw here, for me, it feels like everything should just go into military.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Obviously, you research bowsaw, then you get more wood, in theory, for more siege. The skirms maybe left over.
You need to win now. Like, you need to start winning now.
But this is it, though, right? He's attacking the house. He'll attack ground between them, so both those houses will take some damage. And we might see Viper buy the stone. If Viper knows the situation and he doesn't want to micro against the siege here, which he can definitely do.
Viper's gonna have a castle soon, too.
Yeah, he just has to buy the castle here. I think, I would have bought the castle already. Viper says, I can actually micro, so let's not even worry about it.
Yeah, it's a completely different world, isn't it?
I mean, it is.
That's just the most defeated line I've heard from you all weekend.
It is, and it is for everyone else as well, as Viper drops the castle there. The other thing is, like, just like 7 or 8 villagers, he's not too worried.
Yeah, and he puts it on the gold. He's not really worried about that area. I mean, this is an awkward area for Kingston. I mean, Viper's just going to keep building up crossbows, send them back one by one. He's got ballistics now, so he can hit the knights as they're diving around. Villager even coming in here for the repairs. Same siege workshop villager, and Kingston just can't find a great position to attack the economy from Viper. All he can range are a few farms, idle a few villagers, and now he's trapped.
If he can start to take TCs, it could be okay as Viper tries to whittle down the siege here. But this is the position that ideally he would have been in before Viper had the town centers.
Viper risky. He's going out with the crossbows. There is a mangonel there. He sends one. He sends one. You shall be my sacrifice.
That is so smart. And he's like, guys, don't forget me.
You were forgotten the moment you were clicked out. Dude, I'm sorry. It's over.
Man. Well, Viper did lose 2 ranges, so that would normally make you all excited, but he's got 2 more, man. Like,
And King, I love the all-inness here from Kingston. Like, Okay,
I mean, that's not the...
Shoot!
No! Oh, man.
I mean, there's a lot of dead bodies there, so
There
that
is.
wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Another mangonel on the way. I don't know how close. It's probably pretty far off, yeah.
This sucks if you're Kingston. You've got all this army, and you're just like, dude, fight me. Like, stop making defensive castles.
Yeah.
Stop running. Just fight me. And now Viper runs, and you have nothing at home if you're Kingston. So you actually have to deal with that, which means the whole point of pushing Viper is to
And now he adds 2 extra TCs because he knows that the all-in push isn't going to work here. He's going to add extra TCs. That's his only possibility of coming back in this game. And Viper has this giant army here. These knights, a lot of them are weak. Kingston once again goes through. Dude,
Whoa, he's the
so
best
good.
knight player in the world right now.
Oh my god, how do you do that?
That's a formation change into a stop hotkey on attack stance, I think. But maybe a recent patch did something, but I truly don't think that is common these days.
No,
Like that's
no.
like how people have wanted Knights to work over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that must be a trick that he's come up with to do that.
Well,
that is incredibly difficult, and he's done it twice in the same game. Both those villagers dying, and Viper just, I mean, he's continuing to be a nerd. We always knew he was a nerd, and he's nerding it up with those plumed archers near the Mangonel.
Mapu, can you zoom in on a plume for a second? I'm not trying to make fun of the graphics or anything, but these guys don't have the muscles we saw on the desk a moment ago. These are frail beings.
They're people too.
I didn't say they were people. Viper, by the way, moving out with those plumed archers didn't really click in my brain. As he gets hit on the other side.
There's another Mangonel on the other side, yeah, and that castle is kind of far back, so maybe KingstoNe can range that stone, and KingstoNe, with 2 extra TCs behind, now has 5 villagers queued, so if he can get some serious damage, and I'm talking serious damage in here against Viper's economy, he might have a chance in terms of economic comparison in a few minutes, but it's going to be unlikely with double castle defense from Viper.
I still can't get over the night clear.
It was crazy, twice.
It's insane. Yeah, the way he was able to group up there. The KD does not look so good for Viper, but 104 villagers. But he's still only got 15 military, so I think what I would want for him to do is pressure at least a town center now. It's tough because every time he tries, Viper moves out. But seriously, you've got to pressure a TC.
And don't let Viper get that castle. I know it's like the most unlikely area to expect a castle from Viper, but Viper is just judging where the army is from KingstoNe, and his experience is telling him, I could probably get that castle down and get access to those 2 golds over there, as KingstoNe now traps some plumes against the woodline, but Viper has found a little nook to be very annoying in.
I mean, you do have the extra attack there on the Magyar Knights, so it should lead to a clear up. A big difference between the plumed archers, though, and the crossbows in terms of escaping the knights is a lot easier due to that mobility.
Also,
this is good. This is really good.
This is really good. And
exactly
those are all farms there. And I think we have to look at the eco upgrades, too. I mean, KingstoNe's already has handcart, so that factors in here.
Big shot. He needs a couple more big shots. He does attack round. He'll get another volley off here. Oh!
That was a nice shot. That was a nice shot. It didn't fully kill all the plumes. It killed a couple of them, but it takes a lot of HP, and all you need is one more, and all you need is Viper to be distracted for 1 second, but Viper just bravely runs away from that Mangonel. KingstoNe, dude, he continues to put on the pressure. I'm honestly impressed because I thought once that first push failed, there wouldn't be much hope for him, but he's adding a 4th TC now.
Yeah, I mean, Viper still fails to get any proper counterattacks in, and the plumed archers are just about to be above 20, but even that might not be enough with 15 knights out there from the Magyars.
And there goes the TC. Farm still idled there, never to be returned to again from those Mayan villagers. Viper is trying for some counter raids. KingstoNe, unfortunately, has to send his knights back there for him. That's a good play from Viper to distract him. Viper tried to get the monk, and KingstoNe's like,
great attack round. Great attack round there from Viper, though, because that was great shots all around. No monks there for Viper, though, so he loses his siege. And I believe the plumes are about to be tracked down in the middle of the map as well. However, he didn't see that. He didn't see that on the gold. He saw the other plumed archers.
That's really great from Viper. He's just utilizing the mobility, and we can see like both these games have been kind of similar with KingstoNe pushing, you know, in late Castle Age, and Viper just kind of knowing where KingstoNe's army is, and then he's raiding where KingstoNe isn't, or he's taking advantage of resources where KingstoNe isn't. And that's just fantastic. But KingstoNe's going to wipe up yet another army of Viper coming forward. And the villager difference, well, I mean, it's only 46.
It's true. I mean, there is a point where once Viper clicks in, he just drops 6 barracks and goes pikeman.
Yeah.
And that's the point where I feel like this game will most likely end. But KingstoNe has really shown, after falling way behind, how good he is. And there's Viper. He's going to click up to the Imperial Age now. He's got 30 plumes, Dave. It's crazy. He'll lose plumes and he'll have 30 more out there, and I'd love to see Viper just drop the barracks and try and close this one out from here.
He's also done a good job to only lose 16 vills this game.
Yeah.
Like, really, or no, Viper's only lost 2 vills this game. I read that incorrectly.
Oh, I just trusted you.
KingstoNe has lost 16 vills. Viper's only lost 2 vills? Viper has done an excellent job to not lose villagers this game. That is incredible. I thought surely some of the Mangonel shots had connected, but...
They did lose a TC, I guess, so we assumed a few more, but... Man, those plumed archers now, there were no match, or sorry, the knights were no match for the plumed archers. And of course, KingstoNe, this is his first series, right? And we say it a lot, like first game of the day, first series of the day. He might want to continue on here. Biggest moment of his life.
Yep.
So he doesn't realize maybe how the odds are stacked against him from here. But
impressing me once again, I think, with his macro, 45 farms.
Yep.
And some of the villagers are idle too. I wouldn't be surprised if he had 50 farms on the field right now after going 1 TC at the opening. And I never thought we would get to a stage in this game where KingstoNe is near 100 villagers. I thought he would just be stalled at around that 50-60 mark, all in pressure, and then it didn't work. But he's adapted quite well. Unfortunately for him, Viper is already teched into the best combination for Mayans here, which is the full ball of plumes, and he's going to start heading into likely halberdiers once he's...
And he has no business being out here in a closer game.
Yep.
He's moving out with his full army here when he doesn't have to.
Let's see if he does it again.
He tried. He was almost around them.
Does he run through these again?
He goes around with half the group and then stop hotkeys it because they all fight at the same time.
Bro,
Boom.
this is
stop
insane!
Hotkey.
What?
This is the way Knights did path back in AOC from time to time.
I haven't seen this in many a year.
Yeah, that's sick.
Holy, KingstoNe's got some tricks up his sleeve, dude.
Yeah, it's really good. And again, Viper continues to move out. Also, is being stubborn not adding those barracks, Dave. But I think he knows that this is a tap out once the Imperial Age comes in.
Is that Viper's Mangonel, or that's Viper's Mangonel? Okay, I saw that shot come in. I was thinking, yeah, that's a Mangonel behind enemy lines from KingstoNe, but Viper is going to push that back, is going to clear up that army. KingstoNe almost with 100 villagers here. He's gone into the light cap because he has 46 farms. His resources are at the limit right now. He's got stone in the bank and he's thinking about a castle, but basically it's all production from him as Viper now gets chemistry, bracer, and elite plumed archer, and he's got 36 of them with castles on his golds. This is an uphill battle.
Yeah, Viper's got the extra golds next to his castle on the right. He's denying golds from KingstoNe. He's got relics coming in, I'm sure, as well. So, I mean, all the late game things, just like we saw in game 1. That is the Imp TC underneath the castle.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
So, you know, if KingstoNe doesn't resign, there is actually a very good chance that TC goes down. It's halfway, I think.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Also keep an eye on all those stables with flags on them. KingstoNe is building up for a big old ambush here, but Viper is just splitting up his plumes, and KingstoNe calls it GG. Viper takes that one. Viper just experience pulling him through there on both games.
Yeah, honestly, if you guys want to know what made the difference in that game, it was the Feudal Age army not tracking Viper properly. Because KingstoNe applied so much pressure when he got to the Night Siege, but that was delayed. And Viper does what everyone expects here and wins 2-0 the first series.
Yeah, but maybe unexpectedly tough against KingstoNe. I mean, that was a great first showing. Can't say enough about this young man. I'm old enough that I start calling people young man now, which is disturbing in a way.
It is.
But Viper takes it 2-0, and KingstoNe, I think, is all warmed up.
7 out of 10 strategy from Viper, or maybe a little bit more?
I think we're just going to stick with 7 out of 10. Like I said, he's only won one of those tournaments.
It wasn't that impressive. I think he stays there, But anyways, a great first series. We had the storyline, obviously. KingstoNe will have more opportunities when he plays against the loser of one of our other sets. But we've got, at least you and I, have 2 more sets coming to you.
Yep.
But we're going to have, I believe, an interview coming up here shortly.
Yep, and I think we'll have the snake coming in, and we'll also review some highlights, I believe, from the set coming up here. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of that. And we've got more exciting sets coming up behind this. And we're going to have an interview with the Viper and Riley Knight, our resident Australian. It's getting better the more I do it.
Not me.
G'day everyone, Riley Knight here. No, look, Viper, congratulations, mate. A win there that I think a lot of people are anticipating. You are the favourite in this tournament, but I think it's fair to say you were very meaningfully challenged in both games by KingstoNe there.
Yeah, he played really well. This is actually the first time I ever play him, funnily enough, which is not often in Age of Empires too. But yeah, I took a very safe approach, I felt like, but his aggression really, especially second game, his aggression was a bit tricky to deal with. Yeah, I'm impressed with his play, and I think he has decent chances going forward as well.
I think, you know, it's fair to say that you were tested pretty meaningfully by KingstoNe in both of those games. So let's talk about maybe a different aspect that you bring to this. You know, certainly not your strategy, your experience, you know. Look at this guy. I mean, we described it before, it looks like you're about to get on a Zoom call. Talk us through your headspace at the moment. You're not new to these tournaments. You've been to these before. Does that help you in addressing unexpected pressure, feeling relaxed, feeling confident?
It goes without saying, like for KingstoNe, for example, now this is his first time ever at the LAN event with such a production like we have here. Well, I have done this a couple of times now, so probably the nerves are a bit harder for him to deal with. Yeah, experience goes by saying the more you do this, the more you get used to it, and I feel like I'm pretty used to it by now.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, you know, as a Red Bull champion here, these are paths you've walked before, but the weight of pressure, it's got to be on you. You've got to be feeling that, you know, we've discussed that some of these newer players, these more unfamiliar players, they've got nothing to lose, right? But you have come here with hordes of fans, with people expecting a lot of you. How do you deal with that?
I don't know, I've had it like this for years already, so it's like, it's not really something that bothers me. Obviously, I want to do well, I want to make those that support me happy by doing well. But yeah, I don't feel like it's necessarily extra pressure. If there's any pressure, it's the pressure I put on myself.
Yeah, well, look, you've come and you've played your natural game. You've weathered the storm. Congratulations. A good win for you, Vipey. Well done, dude.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to head through to our other room here and get the perspective of some of the other casters. We were all in the back watching these matches very, very closely indeed, sort of swapping between our A stream and B stream as we kept an eye on other heroes like Leary. But right now, I want to bring Nilly in here and have a chat to him about some of what we've just seen. You know, I've just chatted to Viper about how he did feel meaningfully pressured by KingstoNe. KingstoNe, I think, full credit to this bloke who has come here hungry, ready to go. And I know that there are a couple of moments that stood out to you as being particularly important or instructive in this game. So talk us through some of your highlights here.
Yeah, and we actually start before we go into the actual game. I want to go back and talk about the map draft and the shift draft, because we are going to see the Viper going to pick Arabia, which is basically the standard map in all of Age of Empires, and that's simply saying, I am the better player, I know, okay, I am feeling confident, and if we go to a normal macro game, that's where I will win, and that just showed so much confidence.
I think something that's, you know, if we've got newer people joining us today, again, welcome, by all means, welcome. It's a good idea to kind of phrase Arabia, give people a sense of what we're looking at here with the Arabia pick. This is Final Destination in Smash. This is Dust? Rust? What is it in CS?
Dust.
Dust. There you go. Yeah, that's right. So the Arabia pick here says, look, when we're turning items off, when we're going basically like default standard Age of Empires, no frills, that shows a lot of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to go back in this one again. We just skipped something that I think is really, really interesting in how we draft civs. As you all know, we draft maps before, and then we draft civilizations. So basically, you can get an idea, okay, what is my opponent going for? We had Moras as the home map of KingstoNe. Viper went for Arabia, and now we got into the Civ draft, right? And we are taking a look at this one again. We had Bulgarians as the opener, thinking, okay, that is going for Moras. And now Viper sees, okay, we are having new civs coming in there, and we saw Hindustanis. So maybe we can take a look at the draft again as the whole thing, and then see how Viper can adjust to that. Because at that very moment, okay, we will skip that. We can just go into game number 1 then and see the Viper. He's on the way to Castle Age right now, and now he's getting all the upgrades, as we can see. Gold, wood, farm. He's now getting fletching, while we saw the upgrades already earlier from our Mexican player, KingstoNe here. Viper then identified, okay, we are going for a lot of CA, now goes for ballistics. And what I want to point out here, look at that, we had 111 villagers. KingstoNe's idle TC time, 1 minute. So basically no idle time there at all. Absolutely beautiful play. Halberdiers now not perfectly positioned, and CAs actually dying here quite heavily. We are, well, doing our very best job to microwave, but as we all know, the damage output is just absolutely crazy, and Viper struggled to get onto the numbers, but in the end, reigned supreme. We had massive amount of villagers on gold there for KingstoNe in the end, and I want to show you the face of Viper once he wins there, because that was a tough game, and he was not really happy, had the head shake there. That was like nice move after nice move, but that one was tougher than he thought, surely.
Yeah, you mentioned, I mean, you know Viper very well, obviously, you know, as part of the GL testing team. You've known this bloke for years, and you probably can offer some insight into his psychology. You mentioned, you know, he probably isn't happy with the performance that he put 100% because, but then again, look, we've got to give credit to KingstoNe for that. We've got to give credit to the bloke who was turned up, fresh as a daisy, ready to go, hungry, fire in his belly, to contest someone who is arguably the greatest player Age of Empires has ever seen. So full credit to KingstoNe. The scoreline, in my view, 2-0, it doesn't reflect the gameplay that we saw there.
Especially game one, right? We were deep in it. It was pop 200 against pop 150. Viper could have easily fallen there. So I thought he was scared, and he gave a lot of credit to KingstoNe. I sees him as a contender to maybe even go through into the quarterfinals.
Worth reminding people, of course, that KingstoNe may be down, but he certainly is not out nearly. 2 wins means you make it through to the quarterfinals. Viper already well on his way there, but with only 1 loss to KingstoNe's name, he's still got a chance. If he can rally from this one, string together 2 wins in a tiebreaker or a deciding match, something like that, he could be on his way to the quarters as well. Full credit to the bloke for getting it done against the Viper in the way that he did, even if ultimately, of course, the Viper was victorious. That is that, Nilly. Thank you very much for your insight. I believe right now we're going to take a quick break, get things set up for our next match. So stay with us, everyone, because we'll be back live with more Age of Empires live from Heidelberg Castle in just a few moments. Yeah, sorry, I talked over the drum.
My name is Örjan Larsen. I'm known as TheViper, and I'm from Norway. It's obviously a little bit more convenient to be invited directly because I don't have to go through the troubles of qualifying and potentially missing out throughout the qualifier. So for me, it's a perfect entrance, a little bit more relaxed. I can take a bit of a cooler first couple of months and then intensify the training as the weeks approach the tournament. So my preparation for the tournament has been a boot camp with the GL team members. So all of us went to Berlin. We stayed together in the GL gaming house for roughly 2 weeks. We had some physiotherapists visit us as well and just bounce ideas of each other nonstop. My most feared opponent actually might be one of my teammates because they will know everything I want to do, so they will be prepared for everything. Maybe they'll find a way to counter it. But from pure skill, probably Leary and Hera. Fun enough, I probably also feel most confident against my teammates because I know them as well and can come up with ways to counter them.